So, if you might have noticed, I'm not wearing glasses and I'm in my bathtub. That's because today I'm going to be dyeing my hair while walking you through the entirety of the Infinity Train TV series by memory. Just as a quick warning, I'm not a beauty channel, so I wouldn't exactly follow my exact steps, And another warning is, if I leave something out of Infinity Train, please do not come for me. Don't come for me. I'm dyeing my hair as I'm trying to recall this incredibly complex story for your entertainment. So before I started this, I lightened my hair a little bit with the color Oops. I didn't really decide to film that because whatever. It didn't really lighten it too much, except in the back. It's blonde in some parts, which is pretty cool. But luckily, I am using Good Day Young. The magenta shade, Live, Laugh, Love, which is so fucking funny. So honestly, it should probably come up pretty well on my hair. Once again, I'm not a professional. Do not take my word as gospel. Also, I'm wearing my dyeing shirt. It's a Paramore shirt because, of course, it is. So I'm gonna get my gloves on, and we're gonna get started talking about season 1. So before I begin, I would just like to say that the only amount of preparation I did for this in the Infinity Train segments is I looked at the what's it called? The HBO Max titles and thumbnails, and I was like, oh yeah, that's an episode that happened. So basically, Infinity Train season 1 is the main character is Tulip Olsen. She's not like other girls. She chews onions and goes to coding camp. But her parents, they messed up and she does not have a ride to coding camp. So then she runs away, hops on a train, bada bing, bada boom, it's the Infinity Train. And then she meets this little robot. One is a really happy robot, and the other one's the most depressing robot ever, but it's really fucking funny. And we call that guy 1-1. Or Glad One and Sad One if you want to be really specific. So they go on their little trip. She gets to a car with a bunch of these Quagsire looking dudes called Randalls, and this cat that is scamming them. The cat is super important. You did not think it would be, but it is. The cat's super important. And then the cat tries to scam Tulip, tries to steal 1-1, and Tulip discovers the true meaning of friendship, and she actually really likes 1-1. Yay! Okay, so then I think the most important thing next is we meet Atticus, who is a king corgi. Love Atticus. Atticus is probably one of my favorite side characters in all of Infinity Train. Oh, I think it's important to note that the side characters are all called denizens. There are denizens and there are passengers. And the passengers get these numbers on their hands. And for a majority of the first season, we don't really know what those numbers mean. So it's left to speculation. Does it mean you get off the train, or does it mean you fucking die? Who knows, man? So then that's kind of a mystery that's left to be solved. So then they go on a bunch of adventures through the different train cars, which are basically different worlds with zany gimmicks or themes or whatever. But you discover more and more about Tulip's backstory with every single car. There's this one car where she sings about a family road trip, yada yada yada. Then we skip to the memory car. I'm sure I missed a lot, but whatever. The memory car is where the cat lives, the fucking cat. So she basically tricks Tulip into going to a tape of her memories where everything is altered so that her parents' divorce never really happened and they're a happy family and everything's great and good. And this could be the dream life. This could be you, Tulip. And then Tulip's like, that's not real though. That's not my family. So then everything shatters. The memory things are important too. It's like these little tapes that come out of your brain with these little weird, googly dudes. You know, whatever. By googly dudes, I mean like they're like Dippin' Dots. Except they're gray and ugly and I hate them. And yeah, so she gets out of her little tape, escapes the cat, realizes the cat is working for the conductor, who at this point we've only really heard about and has not really been a key player so far. So then we get to this big confrontation in a fucking Chuck E. Cheese. I can only describe it as either a Chuck E. Cheese or a McDonald's Playhouse, you know? And they have this big thing where the conductor, who's a fucking giant robot. Oh, and also it's a stewardess, which is also a giant fucking robot that I did not mention at all. There are two giant fucking robots in this show, and one of them has a British accent. So then there's kind of this conversation. Poor Atticus the corgi gets turned into what's called a gome. I'm calling them gomes. It doesn't actually get like a canon name until season 3. But they're these weird little cockroach dog things that are honestly pretty gross. Yeah, so Atticus gets turned into a gome and is locked inside one of those, like, orb window sections of a play place. And everyone is sad. Everyone's so fucking sad. I'm sad. That was Atticus. So then the cat comes back and is like, I want to help. And Tulip's like, sounds fake. But she does actually try to help. And then she gives them the conductor's tape. And we're led to believe that it's this guy named Ulrich the entire time. But he has this girlfriend named Amelia. And they're having this lovely romance. It's very cute, very charming. Lots of hints about the conductor. Sprayed across, whatever. And then it's revealed that Ulrich fucking dies. Yeah, so then we find out that Amelia goes on the infinity train and things click for Tulip. Amelia is the conductor. It's not some omniscient alien being or whatever. It's just another passenger. Which is awesome. So then they go on for the big bad fight, you know? They go to the conductor, they duke it out. Atticus becomes Atticus again using orbs. Oh my god, I forgot about the turtles. The turtles! Okay, so there's a turtle car full of turtles. It's completely unfinished. It's very strange. It was an attempt by Amelia to recreate her college life with her husband, fiance, Ulrich. And there are lots of hints thrown in that was Amelia, and it comes back later. And also there was hints about 1-1. 1-1's true identity. Spoiler alert, 1-1 is the conductor, like the true conductor. So then like they have their big conflict in the turtle car using the orbs that were creating the cars. And then they find a corgi orb, and then they make Atticus corgi again. They take down Amelia. By take down Amelia, I mean they literally give her community service and make her work for 1-1, the true conductor, to freaking repent. Tulip's number goes down. Tulip gets to go home. Oh no. There is a car called the Chrome Car. The Chrome Car is where we meet a character named MT, who is the reflection of Tulip, who cons Tulip into freeing herself from being Tulip's reflection, like is free from the mirror world, which gets the mirror cops on her ass. But eventually Tulip helps her escape. Yeah, and that's really all we see of MT for a bit. Until Tulip gets home and there's a flash forward. She's made peace with her parents' divorce. Her dad's finally taking her to computer camp. And she walks past a mirror and she does not have a reflection. processing caps on for season 2. Season 2 opens up with MT, the reflection that was freed of the curse, basically, free of being someone's reflection for the rest of their life, you know? So we see her on the run. We see her, in her new look. She's got a buzz cut. She gave herself gauges. It's a really chef's kiss. Basically, she's on the run, and she's running away from the cops, and then she's going from car to car, and she ends up at this car where she meets a deer. And this deer can literally fucking do anything. Name it, they make this deer have that superpower. It's honestly phenomenal, and I love this deer. So she befriends this deer, and she's like, this deer's pretty cool. We love this deer. This is the first person I've liked so far. And then she falls asleep, and the deer is gone. I'm pretty sure she falls asleep. Somehow the deer gets away. And then there's this kid who's talking to the deer. And she's immediately annoyed. She's like, oh my god, why is this fucking guy talking to my deer? This is my deer. So they have an argument about whose deer it is. Whose deer is it anyway? And the kid's like, he's my deer. We took a selfie. We're best friends. His name is Alan Dracula. And MT's like, that's the stupidest fucking name I've ever heard. His name is not Alan Dracula. And then they fight over him for a bit. And then Alan Dracula falls down the tree that they're on because it was like an autumn leaf kind of thing. So apparently they're on top of a tree. Cool. Also we find out that that the guy's name is Jesse, and he is fucking amazing. I love him so much. So then they go on the family tree car, they learn more about each other. We learn that Jesse is a people pleaser, has really hard time saying no. We learn that Jesse would do anything for approval. We learn that, okay, spoilers, MT goes by a lake by the end of this. I hate using the word, I hate the name MT. We're calling her Lake. It's clear that Lake has anger issues, trouble trusting people, afraid to let the guard down, for obvious reasons. Also kind of upset about living in Tulip's shadow forever. And it's just, honestly, really relatable. And then, so they end up becoming friends, because since Jesse is a passenger and Lake is a denizen, Lake's like, well, our job is to help passengers get off the train, so once I help you get off the train, I'm definitely not helping you because I like you, I'm helping you because I want my fucking deer back, so I'll have the deer, and you can go home. And then hijinks ensue as Lake tries to teach Jesse how to get off the train in incredibly wrong ways. Honestly, his number goes up. And as we know, the number should not go up. So they end up really bonding, and it's actually really cute and nice and very good until the fucking cops show up again. And Jesse's like, I'm sorry. Are you a wanted criminal, Lake? They end up being trapped in the Toad car, which is one of my favorite cars of the entire series. It's basically a toad with a little sign that says, kick me. And then he basically begs for his life when you attempt to kick him. So it's like, kick me, but also, no, please don't kick me, I have a family. Wild. So Jesse's like, we can't kick him, he has a family. And Lake's like, we gotta kick him, we need to escape. So they have this, like, argument for a while. It's pretty fun. And then, like, the cops show up again, and they're like, hey, Jesse, you know that kid's kind of a shithead, you know? You shouldn't be trusting Lake. At this point, Lake's like, I shouldn't be trusting Jesse because I saw the video that Jesse was watching on his phone because apparently his phone has battery here. I don't know. And it's him completely selling out his brother, and, like, his brother gets hurt because of him, because he just followed the cool kids, and all he wants is to be accepted. It's pretty rough, honestly, hard to watch at some points. And as they start fighting, and there's, like, criminal thrown out, there's betrayer coming out, it's like Like, Lake is like, how could you do that to your brother? And Jesse's like, how could you be a fucking criminal, Lake? And then they eventually get out of the Toad car. Frankly, I don't remember how they get out of the Toad car. I think they both kick... No, actually, Alan Dracula, I think, kicks the Toad. Don't call me on that. I'm pretty sure the Toad gets kicked. But then they end up going to a carnival car, like a fair, where they have to win prizes. And the prize is the key to the door, basically. So it turns out because Lake is a denizen, her points don't really count as much as Jesse's, which is kind of bullshit. So they've been working together as like a team to boost up Jesse's points and get to the door. But there's like this masked figure who's doing really well and eventually wins because Alan Dracula gets distracted by some grass. Then we later find out that this masked figure is a woman. She's like 17. Is a girl named Grace. She is the leader of this thing called the Apex, which is basically like a kid army. And she's like, hey, we're gonna riot, and they riot. And it's kind of awesome. And she's like, hey, Jesse, you wanna join my gang? And Jesse's like, okay. Yeah. Jesse joins the gang. Lake is like being like the Apex are like super denizen, rude, like big discrimination for Lake. So then they go to like the base, which is a mall. It's a shopping mall, but like with graffiti and like freaking, you know that weird S? I don't remember what it's called. Like the S that you used to draw in your notebooks. They had that all over the place. It's like clearly a mall if children without parents ran amok. Yeah, so then basically like then we meet another character, Simon. To say that I forgot he died. Simon is second in command of the Apex, and if you thought Grace was bad, Simon is even more discriminatory towards denizens. Yeah, so Simon is kind of a weenie. He literally writes like fantasy novels and paints model soldiers for fun. But he thinks he's tough shit. Meanwhile, Grace is tough shit. Grace is awesome. She's just a master negotiator. Like the way she talks is so very deliberate, and it's just she knows exactly what she's doing. So then Lake stays there at the mall while Jesse goes on a trip with Grace to go basically destroy a new car. And like that doesn't go well. Jesse's like, why are we hurting these denizens? And Grace is like, actually they're called nulls. They're not even a person. They're nothing. Jesse's like, that's whack. Then they go back, and when they go back, they find out that Lake has been having some problems, like Simon and the kids are like beating them up and stuff. Alan Dracula is like about to get wheeled, which I didn't mention what wheeled is. Wheeled is literally being thrown to the wheels of the train, like getting run over by the train. That's horrific to think about. So obviously Simon, not a great person. Grace at this point, not the best. So when Jesse's like, hey, you're being mean to my friends, I'm standing up to you for the first time in my life, his number goes down to 0 and he gets his door. He gets off the train. He's gone. His arc is finished. He's ready to go. And then Lake is like, it's a very tearful goodbye. Jesse's like, no, I don't want to leave without you. And Lake's like, no. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, the mirror police, who have been summoned by freaking Grace, are on Lake's tail. And Jesse's like, I can't. They're going to kill Lake. That's my bestie. Oh my god. So, yeah. But Jesse goes through the door anyway because you're basically forced. And Lake gets captured by the mirror police. And then, Lake definitely, like, holds her own among the police. Like, I'm pretty... Like, one of them becomes only a torso, and then they kind of go out into, like, the Badlands of the train where all the freaking weird roach combs are, and they have this really deep conversation that, honestly, is just so good you need to see it yourself. So then, then Lake literally murders him. Remember the wheeling thing? Yeah, no, that's what happens to him. He gets crushed under the wheel, and Lake's like, bye. Lake's whole thing is, I have to get a number so that I can get off the train, so now I can go to Jesse. And Lake ends up going into like the center of the train where all the passengers arrive first, like the head of the train, I guess, and finds out that Jesse never left the train, technically. Or that Jesse's back on the train, which is unheard of. That someone would immediately get back on the train. And sure enough, here's Jesse, ready to get his freaking little number. His little memory tapes coming out of his freaking head with the weird Dippin' Dots that I hate. And they're reunited, and it's so fucking cute. And then they have this whole fight, and then they do this really, and then poor 1-1's like, I don't get it, I'm supposed to help passengers, but this passenger's dilemma is that this person doesn't have a number, and this person is a denizen, and they're not allowed to have a number, but I have to help this. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Basically, 1-1 gets fooled by the reflection of the hand on Lake, and then because like Jesse's number glows, so it like reflects onto Lake, so it looks like they both have numbers, and 1-1's like, that's good enough for me. And both of them get their doors. And Lake is the first and probably only denizen to get off of the train. And we meet Jesse's brother, Nate. And Jesse's like, whoa, the metal girl's real. Well, Nate says that. Nate's like, whoa. And then Lake chooses her name. So, season 3. Basically, so remember Simon and Grace from season 2? They're the main characters of season 3. We open on them just completely decimating like this theater production. And it's funny because the song they're singing is actually written by Jesse from the second season. They are still in their bullshit. And Simon's definitely got a thing for Grace. I don't know if Grace reciprocates, but regardless, they're very cute the first few episodes. They're hanging out, they're doing their thing. It's really nice, really cute, very good. Except for the fact that they're basically murdering everybody, and they think they're better than everyone else, and also manipulating children. Wow! But it's fine, don't worry about it. And then, so eventually, I don't remember how, honestly. I actually don't remember what car this was in. But we meet Tuba and we meet Hazel. Tuba is this big-ass gorilla with tubas attached. And Hazel is this little gremlin girl. Grace decides to basically adopt Hazel. And because Tuba is like Hazel's surrogate mom, they decide, Tuba has to come with. Simon's like, no, I want to kill this thing. Simon's like, we can't keep the denizen. Why are we bringing the denizen home? And Grace is like, we have to make her an apex, Simon. And Simon's like, this is fucked up. So they go on some zany adventures. Every once in a while, Simon will make a little nudge that he hates Tuba. And Grace will be like, haha, that's just Simon, huh? And like Hazel does not fuck with Simon, like, at all. Hazel's like, you're mean to Tuba, so I don't like you. Honorable mention to the debutante car. Nothing really, I don't really think anything plot-wise super important happens in the debutante car, except that we get reveal that Grace is a trained dancer, which explains a lot of her animation, and that everyone gets to wear cute outfits. So then, like, they basically, they get snowed in at an inn. They find out that the inn is owned by the cat because the cat is the constant. The cat is always here. Oh, I forgot to mention in season 2, the carnival is run by the cat. The cat's everywhere. So we discover that Simon and the cat were actually buds. And the cat's name is Samantha. So we find out that Samantha abandoned Simon when he first got on the train as a child. And she just never went back for him, and he resents her for that. And that's probably why he hates all denizens, because the denizen who was supposed to take care of him left. And Samantha does actually show some remorse for that. Not a lot, but some. Grace is like, oh my god, I'm sorry, bestie. I didn't realize you were going through this trauma. And Simon's like, it's fine. Everything's fine. And it's just very dramatic. That's pretty much the most important part of this episode, I think. Is that we find out Simon's reasonings, and we find out that Simon had a connection to the cat. Yada, yada, yada. They go on their little adventures, and then they go to the... are we going to skip to the color wheel? Okay, then they go to the color wheel car, which is a really interesting car that I wish I could go more into. But for the purposes of this video, let's just say the color wheel car, like, perspective changes with each color. Like, something that's visible on the green is not visible in red. So at this point, Tuba and Simon are actually kind of getting along. We learn more about Tuba's backstory. We learn that Simon might have a heart, and everything is great. Simon kills Tuba at the end of this episode. He fucking wheels her. And then he goes to Hazel and he's like, I killed your mom! Isn't that great? No, Simon. It's not great. It's not a good thing that you killed this child's mother, Simon. So she's obviously upset and she wants to have a funeral. The entire time Simon's being an asshole, but Grace is starting to crack a little. Grace is like, oh my god, we killed this girl's mom. Oh my god, I actually feel genuine remorse for this. They do have the funeral. It's very sweet. They sing a song. It's very beautiful. And Simon's just an asshole. Just an asshole even afterwards. It's just, this is Simon's asshole-fication. Like he was bearable in the first few episodes, honestly, but at this point he's just a raging dick. Grace does not kind of fallen off of this. Grace is not about it anymore. And Simon is starting to pick up on this. Oh my god, wait, I forgot why. Grace is falling off of this because it turns out Hazel is half denizen. Hazel's a fucking turtle. Hazel is one of the turtles that Amelia created to find, like, to redo her life with Ulrich. So Hazel becomes turtle when she's angry or sad or emotional. And Grace is like, oh my god, I'm attached to this denizen. So she's like, we just won't tell Simon and it'll be fine. And then they end up meeting Amelia and they don't even know that that's the conductor. Like, they literally laugh. They're like, that's not the conductor. The conductor is this giant robot that we worship. Because, oh yeah, the Apex worships the giant robot version of Amelia. Because Grace thinks that it saved her life, when really it kind of didn't. So then Amelia's like, I want to take Hazel. And they're like, no, you can't take Hazel. And then we get to the best car in the show. The best car in the show is the hey, oh, whoa car. I don't want to take criticisms on this. It's literally a bunch of blocks falling into a pit going, hey, oh, whoa. It's so funny. And given that this episode is so serious, it's so funny. At this point, Simon's gone back to the cat, and Simon is ready to go through Grace's memories. So when they all fall asleep in the hey, whoa, whoa car, he literally, while Grace is sleeping, puts the weird Dippin' Dots onto her head and sees the memory of her saying, we just won't tell Simon. And we see him listen to this on repeat for so long that you can pinpoint when this man snaps. So basically, when Simon finds this out, he obviously, like I said, he breaks. He fucking breaks down, and he is just a jerk to Hazel, a jerk to Grace, a jerk to Amelia. And then eventually, when Hazel decides, I don't like Simon. I don't feel safe around Simon, and honestly, I don't feel safe around Grace either. Because when she turns into a turtle, Grace is like, screw you, denizen. Kind of the way that Jesse would follow for approval. Grace did so also. So, Hazel was like, I don't mess with that. You sold me out. And Simon literally killed my mom. So I am actually going to go with Amelia. So they go to Amelia and Grace is bummed. Grace is really sad that they lost Hazel. Meanwhile, Simon's like, it's back to killing denizens. Everything's fine. just you and me against the world. And it's just not the case. So not only did my SD card fill, I also, my timer for my hair was finished. So that's all done. Anyway, where were we? Book 3, Infinity Train. So we left off where Simon and Grace got separated from Hazel. Grace is super bummed about it, not happy. And Simon is kind of thrilled. So they're walking around this car, this desert car, and, like, obviously Grace is like, this isn't fun, stop killing denizens, Simon. And Simon's like, why? Is it because you were attached? Or, like, don't remember his exact words, but basically he calls out Grace for not telling him that, hey, I knew Hazel was a denizen, and I didn't tell you. So they kind of get into a fight. And then Simon ends up putting Grace into this weird coma, like, memory prison of all of her worst moments, all of her greatest fears, all of her most, like, the most guilt. Like, you get a whole backstory for her, and it's really kind of, it's interesting. We see her parents were neglectful. We see she comes from a wealthy background. And it's interesting that we get to see this part of Grace. But then it kind of cuts back to see that Grace is, like, standing there, like, motionless. Her eyes are, like, kind of glazed over. And it's kind of gross and weird and freaky because Simon's just, like, watching her. At one point, he actually he makes an appearance in this weird dreamscape thing or whatever. And he's, like, towering over her, basically saying it's her fault and replaying the scene that he watched so many times, we just won't tell Simon, over and over and over. And it's just, my God. So it's really a lot to watch, honestly. And then he literally flicks her over until she's, like, lying on her side with the stupid Dippin' Dots memory bullshit coming out of her. And she's just there to rot in the desert. And, like, we don't know where he goes. I mean, I know where he goes, but when we're watching, you don't know where he goes. And eventually she gets out of this. I don't remember the exact details. I think basically she tells the self inside her brain that this is not right. And she realizes she has a story arc to complete. So she goes back to the Apex where she finds that Simon has taken over. And he's gone full supervillain. He's got kids carrying him down the escalator on a throne. He's got a cape. He's got a new hairstyle. Honestly, if you've watched my channel, you know I don't love him. But I gotta give him points for style. So then there's this big conflict between Grace and Simon, who now sees her as nothing. Literally nothing, like not even a null. So basically throughout the fight, Grace gives him a hand. He says no thank you. She tries again. He says no thank you, whatever. So, like, they keep trying, like, she keeps trying to find something good in him until he literally tries to wheel her. And that's when he's, like, absolutely snaps. He's like, oh my God. He's like, haha. He starts fucking laughing and then sobbing. It's really a frightening thing because, like, all his numbers go all the way up his body. And it's like, oh my God. It's haunting. It's haunting. But Grace survives. And then Simon dies. Simon dies real bad. So remember those weird cockroach dogs? The golems? His trauma is related to golems. So the fact that a golem sucks the life force out of him in a scene that can, honestly, in my opinion, can be the only reason season 3 got put on HBO Max. Because, oh my God. You see bone, you see skin melting. It's nasty. He dies. Grace is left with his army of children, and she decides, well, we're going to be the new Apex. We're going to do better. And that's where we leave season 3. We never really get to see what Grace does with the Apex. I would just like to say before I start book 4 that I feel it's very unfairly judged because while technically it is the end of the series, it wasn't never the intended, like, end of the series. I think it was written to be like an interlude or an intermission of sorts between the freaking back-to-back torment that season 2 and 3 gave us and whatever the hell they had planned for the other seasons. So I think Ryan and Min, their story, I think that fits as a really nice interlude. And also I'm using musical terms because, well, I mean, it is called duet. So it's like book 4, I think, serves better as like a middle part, as like a, here's some snippets on the lore, but mostly it's just going to be a standalone story that gives you a breather. Because, you know, a guy got melted last episode, so we're gonna give you something a little lighter. So we open the show, from what I remember, with the split cuts of showing Ryan's perspective of how life's going and Min's perspective of how life's going. They were childhood friends. They were in a band together. One day, Ryan's like, I'm gonna go pursue our dream of being a musician. And Min's like, I have a life, Ryan. I have to go to school, get a job. I have to, like, be a person. I can't follow this made-up dream that you've had since we were toddlers. And that kind of broke up their friendship a little bit. By a little bit, I mean, they literally don't talk to each other for years. So Ryan's traveling cross country in a van, trying to play clubs and shows, but really he plays, like, bingo games and bowling alleys, you know? It's, like, not much. A struggling musician's life. Meanwhile, Min is working his way up the corporate ladder at a freaking pancake diner. So, obviously, neither one's lives are really going exactly how they planned. And so, Ryan finds Min and says, Hey, Min, one more show. Chicken Choice Judy. Let's freaking go. And Min's like, I told you, I'm done with the band. To which Ryan's like, sounds fake. I'm gonna steal your keys. So Ryan steals the keys and just books it across town. Gets on a train. I need to be specific. It is not the Infinity Train. Until a certain point, it's just a normal passenger train. Commuters, children, families. It's just a normal train. And Ryan is running around it like a maniac with the keys. Like, hey, you wish you had these keys, but you don't. I have the keys. Until, you know those, like, doors in between train cars? One of those turns into an Infinity Train door. And Ryan's like, I'm gonna throw these keys into the door. And Min's like, don't you dare throw my keys into that door. And then he does, and they both go through. Then they meet Kez, who is kind of like their assigned denizen. She is a floating little, like, bellhop bell. Like a little hotel bell. And she's delightful. She's also probably a war criminal. But I love this for her. She basically causes trouble everywhere they go, creating this long list of enemies she has. And they follow her. They're a helpful tool to help us later. So basically Ryan and Min are at odds with each other this entire time. They are on this weird train that they have no idea what's going on. Oh, I also think it's worth noting that they're not wearing their own clothes. They're wearing, like, these uniforms that we've never seen passengers wear before. So there have been hints to this point that it's a prequel. And, like, it's a prequel. Like, this is before Tulip, this is before Lake, this is before Jesse, this is before even Grace and Simon. So, at this point, Amelia is on the train, though, but we only find out, like, at certain points, but don't worry about it. So then they do the thing. Kez helps them, and they try to learn about themselves. Mostly fighting along the way. Like, Ryan has a lot of carefree attitude. It wants to jump into things, thinks on instinct. Not really big on plans. Meanwhile, Min is, like, analytical and wants to figure out what they're gonna do before they actually do it. And this causes a lot of conflict. And basically, all that happens, and it culminates to when they get to, like, this space club. At this point, we know that part of the reason why Ryan and Min, like, friend broke up was because, Ryan was left on stage alone at a Chicken Choice Judy performance, I think at the talent show, and Min just bailed. So that happens again at the Space Club where they're pretending to be the musical act, which really kind of sucks for Ryan. And then somehow they get to like, I don't remember how they get here, but they end up playing music together in the bathroom. They play like a song from their childhood. It's really good. It's really good. And oh, speaking of cats, Samantha's in this season too. Yeah, she is a barmaid or whatever in the cowboy car, the western car. Ryan flirts with her. It's a time. Anyway, yeah. So then they're playing music in the bathroom. There's a good conversation about Asian representation in rock music, and there's a good conversation about how Min didn't give up the dream because he wanted to. He just felt like he couldn't do it. And there's just a lot of important character growth and important, honestly, messaging there in the bathroom scene. And it kind of just ends with them in their own little world playing music together like they used to. And at one point, Kez, who's been abandoned by her friends, ends up joining them. And it's like a nice moment. That doesn't last very long because I'm pretty sure the art room or whatever gallery car is next. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's what I remember next. So, basically there's this freaky, like, hand ghost thing. I don't know. It's like a hand monster. It's a monster that's made up entirely of hands, and it's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. I don't know why Infinity Train thought that was okay to do. But then, so, they go into the gallery car. And what the gallery car does is it kind of makes it so that your anger, your darkest thoughts, all your negativity really comes out. Like, it influences you. Ryan and Min fight a lot in this car. They say some things that I'm pretty sure they do mean. And it ends up where Ryan gets a chance to shine, where we see that Ryan's way of thinking is not wrong. Ryan is able to see the world in a different way. He's able to find the door. He's able to find the door when no one else can because of the way he looks at the world. And so he escapes the room. He escapes the car. But meanwhile, Min is being, like, suffocated by all the negativity and being dragged down. And, like, the hand guy is, like, about to freaking munch on him or something. I don't know what he does, but I don't want to know what he does. And meanwhile, like, Ryan's like, oh my god, I need to get in there. And he can't get back in. And he just won't leave Min. He won't leave Min. And that brings his number down to freaking 0. Which is really interesting because their numbers work very strange. When they got on the car, they had the same number. When they got on the car, they had the same number on their hands. And sometimes they would go down together. Sometimes one would go up, one would go down. There's a whole thing where Min blamed Ryan for being the reason to be on the train. And only his number needed to go down. But later we find out that they need to work together. They both have problems, so both of their numbers need to go down. And that's interesting in itself. So anyway, so he gets his door. Ryan gets his door and outright refuses it. Because Min can't come with him. And I don't even remember how Min gets out of this. But he does. And he's pissed, honestly. He's mad. He's mad at Ryan. Because he thinks that Ryan just abandoned him. He thinks that he just left. Which is not the case, as we know, but it's really hurtful for everyone involved to watch Min break down like that. So, I'm sure there's episodes in between this, but at this point, Kez has talked about her roommate, Morgan, a lot. And how Morgan will help Ryan and Min get off the train. And that's kind of been an overarching thing, as well as Kez's long list of enemies, as well as hints that Amelia changes some things. Like, they get their outfits back midway, and their instruments back midway through the season because Amelia intervenes. So there are some overarching things. It's, like I said, it's an interlude, but it's not completely irrelevant. So Kez has been talking about her roommate, Morgan. So she brings Ryan and Min to a maze. That is like the entrance to this big castle where apparently she lives with Morgan. And they have a lot of good conversations in that maze. They honestly, they cry, they explain things. It's really sweet, actually. Then they get to the castle after being chased by, Kez's long list of enemies that she's made throughout the season. They find that Morgan is the castle. And Morgan's pissed at Kez. Morgan wants nothing to do with Kez because supposedly she is the reason why Jeremy left. Jeremy is their third roommate who was a passenger. More on that later. But Morgan has now made it a point that she's going to now, like, keep Ryan and Min there, because she's never going to lose anyone again, basically. So they're being trapped there. Ryan breaks down. He is literally in his room, like, he doesn't eat. He has this, like, sheet over his head. Like, all the optimism has been stripped from this kid. He's like, I'm never getting off this train. What was the point? And it's honestly really depressing to watch. It's really upsetting. But then, like, Min and Kez talk to Ryan. It's really nice. It's really sweet, as always. But they also, like, at one point they get really mad at Kez. Because, honestly, it is kind of Kez's fault. Why didn't Kez explain? Once again, Kez is a bit problematic, but we love her. We love Kez. All of her flaws make her better. So at one point they go to talk to Kez. They sneak out of their room and they go to talk to Kez. We find out that the reason why Kez is hated by Morgan is because Kez basically told Jeremy, like, basically helped Jeremy deal with grief and trauma of a very traumatic thing that happened in his life that he feels the blame for. And that ends up getting his door back. He gets a door because he's made peace with that event. Thanks to Kez. So Kez actually helped someone. Kez is capable of helping a passenger. But Morgan saw that as a bad thing. Morgan was like, he was gonna live with us forever. And it was like a really big deal. So that's kind of the end of Kez's arc, I think. Kez also finds that she really does care about Ryan and Min, which is really sweet. And honestly, the ending of season 4 is kind of a mess in my memory. It's not a mess, like, story-wise. I just don't really remember a lot of it. I remember that all of Kez's, like, enemies come into the castle, and Morgan throws, like, a big fit. It's like full living castle shit. And I remember that, like, the boys start playing together again, and there is closure. And that's how they get their doors, when they finally get the closure that they deserve and that they craved. I really wish I remembered more. Oh my god, I set out to do this video, and I was like, oh, I know most of the plot beats, but honestly, season 4's ending is a complete blur to me, which is so embarrassing. Basically, they get their closure, don't ask me how. And they go home, and they start their band. They realize that the dream is still alive, and they're willing to work for it. And they play an actual show, and there's someone who wants their mixtape or wants their demo. And it's like, it's just really sweet. And you think to yourself, maybe Chicken Choice Duty will make it. Thank you for watching this video. It's a long one, boys. I definitely am going to put, like, chapters in the description of this video. So if you want to skip some stuff or whatever, I'm definitely going to try to edit this as well as I can. If I don't, I'm so sorry to anyone who watches this. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's been a real one. My hair looks good. I'm excited. And I'll see you when I see you.